All right. So we all have the same amount of time in a day, right? Why do some people get so much more done than others? Why are some people so much more successful than others? Why do some people achieve so much more than other people? The answer, my friends, is right here in this book, The One Thing by Gary Keller. It is absolutely the one book, no pun intended, that will not only help you achieve your goals in real estate, but help you achieve your goals in all areas of your life. When I owned real estate brokerages, I actually had the amazing opportunity to be mentored in a small group with Gary Keller. We talked about all kinds of amazing topics, and it was right around the time when he wrote this book, The One Thing. And when he wrote it, he had asked some people to volunteer to become official instructors for the book. And I actually took that opportunity. I got some of my things right here. I got my One Thing full day workshop manual, which I just dug up and found. I got all kinds of other resources from when I did that. And the amazing thing is that this book is really, really simple. And if you're a real estate agent, actually really in any business, the concepts here are simple, but they're not easy to execute. And that's why I keep coming back to the book. And the beauty of it is that you can use the concepts and everything that's in this book to help yourself in any area of your life, or I should say in every area of your life. And the book really goes over the 7 key areas of your life. And you can improve all of those areas by using what is in this book. All right, so what are the main principles in the book? What are the main takeaways? And how can you implement those into your life today? Number 1 is that success is sequential. It's not simultaneous. Here's what I mean by that. There's so many people that think that you got to do everything all at the same time to be successful. And there's other people that see other people who are successful and they wonder, how did they get so successful? And oftentimes they'll ask the question, how did they get so successful so fast? Well, the answer is it's never fast. It's always sequential. And if success is sequential, then you have to know what to do in what order. Now, unfortunately, life typically does not give you that instruction manual. Most people kind of wish it did. I also wish we got the instruction manual on how to raise our kids. They didn't give us that one either. But because life is sequential, the idea in The One Thing is that you have to line up your dominoes for success. You got to know, what should I do first? What should I do second? What should I do third? And by lining up those dominoes and focusing on what is the most important thing right now, doing that thing, and then moving on to the next thing, that is really how you can be successful. You see, so many people try to do too much at once. They try to go and do all of these things all at the same time. And what they end up with is, because their focus is so wide, they don't end up accomplishing any of those things. In the book, what Gary talks about is that if you line up dominoes, one domino can knock over the next domino that's 50% bigger than its size. And so when you apply that to your life in any area, whether that's business or personal or financial or anything else, what happens is, if you get that first domino right and you've lined it up and you knock over that first one, then the second one becomes even easier and it's bigger. So as you go, by the time you're on the 10th domino, the 15th domino, the 20th domino, you're knocking over dominoes that are way bigger than the ones that you started with. What the book tells us to do is to always be asking what they call the focusing question. Now, this is a question that I love to ask. I ask it multiple times a day in many areas of my life. And here's the question. I'll read it to you word for word. And the question is, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And you can actually plug in whatever area of your life you're talking about right there into the question. So let me give you an example. Let's say we're talking about physical fitness. It's the beginning of the year. A lot of people probably had weight loss on their New Year's resolution. So what's the one thing I can do with my physical fitness such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And the idea is that you keep asking that question till you really get down to the most important thing, the number one thing, and you do that number one thing, and then that leads to the next thing. Now, this is such a powerful concept when you really think about it, because so many of us go through life in these areas thinking about, there's so many things I need to do. My to-do list is overflowing. I have 100 things to do today. You hear this from people all over the place. And I can't help but chuckle these days when I hear that from someone, because if they read this book and they apply the principles at any given time, there can only be one priority. There can only be one most important thing. And one of the ways to get there, if you're having some trouble, is this is something that I do all the time, is if I want to do something, I'll just do a brain dump. Hey, what are all of the potential things that I could do in this area of my life to improve? So let's say, let's stick on the physical fitness concept, right? So let's say I need to lose, 10 pounds. And I'm thinking, hey, what are all the things I could do? Well, I could join a gym. I could eat less. I could work out more. Maybe I could hire a personal trainer. I could throw out all the soft drinks in my house. So you make a list of the 100 things you could do or 200 things. And then what you do is you use something called the Pareto principle. If you're not familiar with the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule, what you want to do is you want to take a look at all the things you wrote down and go, hey, what are the top 20% of the things that I need to do? And this comes from a principle that was discovered in Italy by Pareto, where he uncovered that 80% of the land was owned by 20% of the people. This actually applies to all things, income, wealth. It applies in business. 80% of your problems usually come from 20% of your clients. You might have heard it that way. 80% of the money in any real estate brokerage is earned by 20% of the people. And the 80-20 numbers are not exact. The point is that there's always this disparity, right, between what's going on. And so when you look at your list, you might go, okay, you might narrow it down to the top 20%. Let's say you wrote down, 10 things. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to identify the top 2 things. And then from those top 2 things, we're going to do something called extreme Pareto, and we're just going to identify the one thing. You're always looking for what is the one main thing that's going to propel you to success. Now, if it's weight loss, I'm going to tell you what it is, and I'm going to give you the secret. And the secret is hire a personal trainer, right? Because hiring a personal trainer actually leads to all of the other things. See, if you hire a great personal trainer, they're going to give you a workout plan. It's going to give you a diet and eating regime, right? So all of that is going to happen, and all of that is going to be as a result of taking the right first action. Now, what if you took a different first action? What if you said, well, my first action is going to be join a gym. Okay, well, I joined the gym, but I don't have a workout plan. I don't know what to do, and I don't have motivation, and no one is holding me accountable. You see, so that is not the right first step. And you can actually do this with anything. If you look at your real estate business and you say, okay, how do I build a big business? Now, the key and the secret sauce that I'm going to give you is that most of the time, with most items, the answer, or the first thing, the one thing, is usually to either gain some knowledge, hire a coach, a trainer, or an accountability person, partner up, right, or get into the right system. That is usually the answer, because once you're in the right system, like in real estate, for example, left to your own devices, you don't know what to do. You wake up, just like with working out, you don't have the right program, you don't have the right trainer, and you don't know what to do. You don't know how to get clients. You don't know how to build a client attraction system, all of these things. But once you get into the right system, whether that's hiring a coach or joining the right brokerage or partnering up, let's say, with someone like me in our group, right? There's all these different things you could do. Once you make that right decision and you take the right approach, now everything is laid out for you. And that is what that focusing question does. So it's a question that I have typed out. It's all over the place. It's in my notes on my phone. It's everywhere. And so it's so important that you start asking yourself that question every day with any area of your life that you're trying to improve. Now, the next big takeaway from this book is all about the profit iceberg. Now, the profit iceberg is an interesting thing. When we all look at someone who's successful, we always think to ourselves, hey, this guy's an overnight success, or maybe he was lucky, or, what makes him so great? And all you see up front is that latest success or the profit. And an interesting story I have for you recently is, so I played football at the University of Arizona. I'm a big fan, obviously. Our head coach at the University of Arizona recently left to go to the University of Washington. He took a better job. He signed a huge deal, 7 years, I think $7.5 million each year. Don't quote me on that. And so what I did is I looked it up and I'm like, wow, this guy's amazing. And 3 years ago, I didn't even hear of this guy. Where did he come from? He just started at the University of Arizona as a head coach 3 years ago. Well, guess what? I looked him up. His birthday is actually right around the corner from mine. And it turns out that his first graduate assistant job was all the way back in the year 2000. His first head coaching job was at the University of Arizona in the year 2020. That's 20 years of stuff that we never saw. And that's what the profit iceberg is all about. So when you look at the profit iceberg, at the very bottom, you have purpose. And what this tells you is that in order to achieve any goal, in order to achieve success and profit in your business or your life or whatever area you're looking at, the first thing you need is you need to have a purpose. You need to be driven. You need to have something that's bigger than money or fame or whatever it is you're seeking to get you to go where you need to go. That is the foundational layer of everything. What is your purpose? Second is priority. You need to establish priority. We've talked about the dominoes. We've talked about the focusing question, but you always need to have priority. Notice I didn't say priorities, priority as to what you're doing at any given moment. There can only be one most important thing, and that's the thing that you should be doing. Next is productivity. You need to be productive. And when you're productive and you focus on your one main thing and you time block and you do the other things that are laid out in this book, I can't go over all of them. As I said, I used to do a whole one-day workshop on this, and we're condensing it down. But when you're productive and you establish productivity, then, only then, are you able to see the end result, which is the profit. And so it's those layers that are critical and super important. All right, so how do you apply the profit iceberg into your life right now, today, and how do you take action on this? Well, the first thing is you want to make sure that you have a purpose, that you know what your purpose is. And look, if your purpose is just money, that's fine, as long as you realize that and you know that that's what you're aiming for. But you got to know what your purpose is, because that is the foundational layer of everything that you're going to do. Next, you have to take the time to establish priority and establish your dominoes. What's the most important thing you can do in this area of your life? Like I said, a lot of the times it's going to be plugging into the right system, hiring a coach, getting an accountability partner, really having a system that you understand, that you know. Next is you got to be productive. You got to line up the dominoes on what you need to do and how you need to do it. And then you need to do the most important thing first and then the next thing. Don't just check items off a to-do list. Do what's important. And of course, that is how you will be productive, and then that is how you will have profit. Now, the next thing I really want to touch on here is accountability. Now, a lot of you, when you hear accountability, I know the reaction is, I hate accountability. I don't want to be held accountable. That is actually not what I'm going to be talking about today. The word is accountability. But the interesting thing about accountability is all accountability is to me is understanding that I am responsible for my success. I am responsible for my failure. No one's doing it to me. No one's doing it for me. I need to take responsibility. I need to take ownership of what I want to accomplish, and I need to take ownership of where I am currently and the results that I'm getting. And if the results I'm getting are not what I want, then I need to ask the right questions to get there. Now, accountability is the exact opposite of victim mentality. Now, in today's day and age, in today's world, I know that victim mentality is so prevalent, and it is something that is pushed by a lot of people. Hey, it's not your fault. It was your upbringing. It was because you didn't have money. It was because your parents weren't rich. It was because you didn't go to the right school. You're not in the right environment. Someone else did it to you. These are all things that perpetuate victimhood. And that does not help you. So you can sit and sulk and feel sorry for yourself and talk about why you are where you are, what you don't have all day long, but ultimately it doesn't help you get where you need to go. What will help you get where you need to go is asking the right questions and being accountable. And here's what I mean. If you're not where you want to be, just ask the right question. Hey, why am I not where I am? What do I need to do? What steps do I need to take? And then get on with it, right? Do the things that you need to do. Clean up your messes, clean up your incomplete items, do what's talked about in this book. Make sure you understand your purpose. Make sure you understand what those first dominoes are, your priority, right? Act with accountability, and you will get to where you want to go. Now, there's a poem in this book that when I was teaching the live class to people, I always read, and it's something that has always stuck with me. It's about asking the right questions of life. Let me read it to you word for word. I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged at evening when I counted my scanty store. For life is a just employer. He gives you what you ask. But once you have set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I had asked of life, life would have willingly paid. So make sure you ask the right questions of life and of all these areas in your life so that you get the answers that you really want. And now, guys, in addition to this book, if I had to start all over again, no listings, no leads, no clients, and I needed to build a $1 million real estate agent business that's predictable, that's profitable, that's fun, I would watch this video right here, and I suggest you check it out as well.